and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And where we last left off with the Avengers Infinity War, I don't have a subtitle for it yet, but I guess you could say long-winded review. We're on part 3 here, and in this one here, we're going to be talking about Team Cap. Now, Team Cap, excuse me, Team Cap consisted of mostly Captain America, Black Widow, Falcon, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and I guess you can say Bruce Banner in there too, because he kind of jumped ship after the whole New York scene. And just because I don't want to make this just like the last one where I'm beat for beat saying everything about the movie if you guys seen it, but to give her overall twist is they basically get called in when Vision and Scarlet Witch kind of go off the reservation, and they get attacked by Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, trying to get the Mind Stone out of the Vision. And once they meet up with them, they kind of fight them off in like a really cool action scene. It wasn't really nothing over the top, but I was kind of upset, and I'll get to this in, when I speak about my Black Order video, about how like Cap, Black Widow, and Falcon just like wrecked shop on Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive. Not feeling that. Not feeling that. Because Proxima Midnight was a beast with her spear, right? And I can understand, like, okay, maybe Cap giving her a run for her money a little bit, only because he had the shield. But in this, he didn't have the shield, so it's like he's just super strong human at this point. Whereas the other guys, they didn't even have powers, right? So that's like the weird kind of sort of thing where it's like they didn't even have like strong enough weapons to deal with Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, and they just kind of basically they whooped their ass and they ran. I mean, they came in there strong. Cap led the team strong. They had the teamwork on point, and they basically beat them down and then left. So after that scene, they go back to New York and they try to figure out what's going on. They go back to New York, and I want to say War Machine is like, hey, look, here's what's going on. This guy's coming for these stones. They try to, I guess they look at Bruce Banner because they're trying to be like, well, maybe we can get the stone out of Vision so he doesn't die when they come and take it. And Bruce Banner's like, hey, I'm not smart enough. So then they make a trip over to Wakanda. They visit Shuri, and she tries to, get the stone out, scientific means, and she explains that there's so many neural pathways, it's like trillions of them, I think that they mentioned. So she has to go through each one to basically, because a Vision is kind of like an amalgamation between the Mind Stone, Ultron, Jarvis, and I guess you also got the programming language of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner in there too. And that's like he's like a jumbled mess of all of that. So he's not like, oh, he's all the Mind Stone and all the Vision and all, Ultron. It's like a mix of it, right? So Shuri has to go in and separate all of that, and she, and they're thinking that, okay, well, if they separate the Mind Stone, maybe what's left of everything else is the best parts of Vision, or at least most of Vision, so to speak. So they try to, do that, and then that's where you have that whole Wakanda scene about Wakanda being sieged by the Outriders and everything. And I don't want to jump into too many spoilers because I'm going to talk about the Guardians team probably in the next video, but the scene was done pretty good. It kind of reminded me of the scene in the comic books, except in the comic books, Black Panther whooped that ass. Gave them the business when they came to Wakanda. But in this, it wasn't that way. I was kind of worried about this movie not having good enough CG, only because I remember in Black Panther, you had like a lot of shady CG scenes when it was, when they were both fighting each other at the end, where it was Black Panther versus Killmonger. And I remember looking at that like maybe that doesn't look finished all the way. But it could be that maybe they took all of the resources, since the movies were coming out in the same year. They took all of the CG resources and put them on Infinity War, since that's the bigger movie. And that's what I think that they did, because I remember reading an article, and what was it, like a few months ago, where it was talking about how Hollywood movies and CG, or how the CG companies do the CG for all of these superhero movies and modern movies and everything. And usually, as a moviegoer, when we sit down in the seats and when we watch the movie, we look at it like, oh man, that CG fucking sucks. Well, usually the reason why it's bad is because we always say like, oh, they didn't put the time and the money in, right? But it's not always about money. What it is that they're overworked. A lot of times when it comes to CG studios, back in the day, CG wasn't used a whole lot, so you only had it in like one special effects shot, or maybe to show a effect like fire or particle physics, that kind of sort of thing in a movie. Now you have the entire movie rendered out in CG. So unless you kind of give it a cartoonish art style, let's say like a Pixar movie or a Toy Story movie, something that's easier to render, like with these Marvel movies and everything, and with modern movies, everything is pushing that realistic boundary. Usually the more detail you throw into something, the longer it takes to render, and by them making everything look damn near realistic, they're overworked, and then rendering all of that stuff out for the final project and for the movies, that takes a whole lot of time. So by the time the movies comes out, that's why in certain movies, like in Black Panther, either maybe they were probably overworked, or maybe they took all of the people that was working the CG for all of the Marvel movies and probably put them more towards Infinity War than Black Panther, and that's why that scene in Black Panther was probably fucked up at the end. But in this, that wasn't the case. The Outriders, you can tell that they weren't as good looking as Thanos, but I'm not saying that they were bad. They were damn good. I wish that they were kind of well, that's the one main thing about this movie. I'll get to that when I talk about the one or two minor flaws I have with the movie, is that certain scenes and creatures and things I wish were done better. But the problem with that is, if they'd have made that better, they'd have had to take away from something else. And you had a lot in this movie with just the heroes and Thanos and going through all of that. So I would want them to take away none of that extra stuff to make, let's say, to make the Black Order a little bit better, to give them a better backstory, because the movie's not about them. So they're just, henchmen in this movie. But so that's why I said I wouldn't want to take away anything from that. I want them to kind of, I want them to do both. And what I really want to see is, I want to see like a 6-hour cut of this movie. That's what I want to see. Because like I said, it's not bad, but it's like they only had like 2.5 hours, so there's only so much you can do. And that's where I think they had to cherry pick certain things. Like, a lot of people complain that, oh, the trailers misled people, Captain America didn't have a whole lot to do. And I'm like, bull fucking shit, that's Captain America. Like, I mean, granted, this movie wasn't about the hero, so I don't expect, or at least I didn't expect, Captain America to be forefront, at least more so than Iron Man, because they were the ones who were actually fighting Thanos, in the movie for the most part. So I wasn't expecting Captain America to have more screen time than, let's say, everybody else. I'm surprised that they gave everybody damn near equal screen time. I think the only people that might had a little bit more was Thanos probably had the most, and then I would have to count with Aquaman. Damn, I'm about to say Aquaman. Damn. Well, he didn't even get no screen time in his movie. But Iron Man, he had a lot of screen time, and Doctor Strange had a lot of screen time, and Spider-Man was here and there. But I would say they had, those three people had the most screen time in the movie. Thor had, Thor was up there with number 4. So Cap and his team, they were pretty much just help defending Wakanda and defending Vision. So they were playing defense the whole movie. And like I said, for me, that wasn't bad, because look, I love Captain America. He's not my favorite Avenger, but after watching these movies and reading some of the later comic book runs with him, he's probably my second favorite at this point. So to me, it's like, I understand the character. I don't have to see more screen time with him. That's like you watching like a Justice League movie or a cartoon show, and it's like, oh, why didn't Superman get screen time? Well, you already know everything about Superman. It is what it is. You know, he doesn't have to show up and you know, you have to see his character grow in the movie and everything. You don't have to do that. One thing I was surprised about though, about Cap and even throughout the whole movie, is he doesn't get his shield back. And that's like one of the nitpicks I had. It's like I would have loved to see him like in a scene where he holds up the shield and yells "Avengers Assemble." You know, I would have loved to see that, but I'm guessing maybe they're saving that for the next one, because I think that with the next one, by everybody, you know, spoiler alert, by everybody turning into dust, that probably Iron Man and Cap are going to get a hell of a lot more screen time in the second part when it drops next year. And that's going to be one of those things where they're going to be pushing the majority of the story. This had to be Thanos' movie, so he had to get the most screen time. So Cap and his team and Black Panther, you know, people were mad that Black Panther didn't get screen time. Black Panther's not a fucking Avenger. At least not yet. You know, in the MCU, he is random rich black guy. You know, with a country of resources behind him. He's not an Avenger. This movie isn't called Avengers Black Panther Edition. You know, so no, he should not get a whole lot of screen time. Plus, when they made the movie, because I think they made this movie first before Black Panther, they didn't know how Black Panther was gonna do. They probably thought it was gonna be okay. You know, they probably thought it was gonna put up like maybe like Thor numbers or something like that, maybe a little bit more. They didn't know Black Panther was gonna blow up to be what it is. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, you can't give everybody screen time. I mean, everybody, I mean, you have to focus on what you want to focus on. And, you know, I'm glad that they chose to focus on Thanos rather than everybody else. And that's one thing when I get to my Thanos video where I'm going to talk about that, is that everybody seemed to love Thanos because of it. So it's one of those things where I personally, I wish they'd show death in there, and I'll get to that more in my Thanos video when I do it. But the fact that they didn't, a lot of people seem to like Thanos' new motivations. I love his motivations. I get it. I understand it. I understand the reason why they chose to do that versus the comic book origins. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if you'd have did that and you just hinted at death in any kind of way, I would have probably loved it a whole lot more. But I'll get into that more when we talk about Thanos there. But speaking of Thanos, I don't want to talk a whole lot about Thor, you know, Thor's part and Wakanda scene and everything, because I'm going to talk about that in the Guardians video when I do, you know, Team Guardians. But Thanos came in there at the end. You had Cap trying to fight him. You had everybody trying to hold him off. And they basically, you know, one subplot that they've been playing throughout the whole movie is, I guess you can call it sacrifice, or I've heard some people call them hostage moments, where Thanos is threatening the life of somebody for the stone, and they eventually give up knowledge or give up the stones themselves, things like that. And one thing with Team Cap that they've been toying with throughout the whole movie, which I understand, but I don't understand it at some point, is you have Vision is like, hey, look, I have this stone. Why don't we just destroy it so Thanos can't get it? And that was something else I didn't like about, you know, about Team Cap. It's like Vision wants to sacrifice himself. Okay, I get that. I mean, I really do. It takes him off the field. It makes Thanos less of a threat. I mean, it's the universe versus just you, right? I would probably do the same thing. But you got Scarlet Witch, who doesn't want him to do that because she's in love with him. And then you also got Cap like, oh no, we don't sacrifice people on this team. I'm like, you're a fucking soldier. Like, what the fuck? And he even mentioned that when he was talking to him, he was saying, Vision was saying, like, you're a soldier, like, you fought, you sacrificed how much during the war? Why aren't you letting me do the same thing? And that's the thing I don't agree with, is that he's on this righteous tip about, oh no, we got to be better. We don't have to, you know, we could do this without doing it. And that's what I like it and I dislike it, because I like it because that's the moral thing to do, that's the right thing to do, and that's why he's saying it. But it's not the realistic point of view. Any soldier or any person who has to make those hard choices in life will tell you that just because you want it to be that way doesn't mean the world works that way. And if it were me, I'd have just shot Vision right then and there. But and now something else that bothered me too about that scene is even at the end. I mean, I know why they did it is because they probably played it up because it's a part of the story that they wanted to tell. But since when could Scarlet Witch destroy a fucking Infinity Gem? Like, it's called an Infinity Gem for a reason. You can't actually destroy them in the comic books. That's a thing. You can destroy. They can destroy themselves. But maybe after a year or two, they're like the fucking Dragon Balls. They'll just come back eventually. They'll find their way back to back to that gauntlet again. That's just how they work. So to say that these underpowered heroes and Scarlet Witch, which they've never really addressed what her powers were outside of just telekinesis. Because it's not like in the comic books. In the comic books, Scarlet Witch's powers is like chaos magic. So she can do magic, hex-based magic, where it can affect lucks and outcomes and probabilities, and tons of other reality warping shit, that basically came to a head during House of M, if you guys ever want to read a great story about that. But in the movies, she's weak as hell, just like everybody is weak. They never really addressed her powers. So just to throw her in there as a MacGuffin saying, her power can destroy an Infinity Stone. Why? It's not like, she came from the Infinity Stone and so her powers can do it. It's like, that's not the case. Like, yeah, Strucker used the scepter to kind of, I guess, tweak their genes. I mean, it's like, that's what Marvel's been real muddying the waters about that, because they can't call them mutants, right? So that's why they kind of, I think, what do they call them? Enhanced people, or enhanced persons. That's what they call them. They can't call them mutants because they get sued up the ass by Fox. But that's something that bothered me, because they never established, like, okay, where her powers came from. All they know is like, Strucker experimented on them, they got powers, right? But it would have made more of a sense if Marvel in let's say Age of Ultron, if they previously established and say, hey, look, her power is just a small portion of this Infinity Stone, and maybe now in Infinity War, maybe she can tap into the rest of the power to destroy itself or something, like make a reason in there, right? But they didn't do none of that. It just assumes that, she can destroy it. Why? Who knows? Because we said it could. Didn't like that at all, because this is like power that runs the universe, and yet your miscellaneous telekinesis red smoke is gonna somehow just destroy it because of why? What makes you even on that level? What makes you think you're that good? But that was something that happened at the end of the movie, and then Thanos came and she destroyed the Vision. She just straight blew him up, and he just pulled that Doctor Strange and was like, no, let me rewind this a little bit. I don't like the way things, he pulled what was the prince's name in the Prince of Persia? Thanos was like, nope, it didn't end that way. Let me just take this back a little bit. And he basically rewound time and then just plucked the stone out of Vision's head, and that's how he got it. But overall, Team Cap, it was done pretty good. Honestly, I would have loved for them to do a little bit more with a lot of the side characters. As far as those side characters being how they were in the movie, outside of certain nitpicks here and there that most people won't have problems with because they're average moviegoers, I mean, it is what it is. I'm a little bit different because I read all the comic books, so I have all of that back knowledge in my head when I'm watching these movies. Like, I want to see Falcon. Like, why can't they just paint him white? I understand not putting him in that spandex costume where he looks like a bird, because that looks stupid in real life. But just give him like a white. I mean, even if it was like a white camo, winterized camo on his clothes, versus that black metal, sheet metal gear that they got him in. Paint him white. Paint him white. Give Black Widow red hair, because I don't know why she keeps changing her hair color in every damn movie. Cap was fine. Loving the beard. Love the joke that he had with Thor. With Thor was like, "Oh, I see you copying my beard." That was I got a real chuckle out of that, being a bearded man myself. But outside of that, give Scarlet Witch an actual costume for once, versus just that like red jacket that she always got, throw on. But it was done damn good. I wish they'd have did more with the side characters. Like I said before, War Machine and Falcon didn't get a whole lot to do. You know, I would have rather seen them. War Machine had a really good scene where he kind of blew up a couple line of Outrider soldiers, but I would want them to do different things with those different characters. Like, people already see War Machine as like a second copy of Iron Man, right? I would rather. And that's the weird thing, is like, how can they change him up to have him be a little bit different? But I would make him different kind of way. In the comic books, they kind of went full on War Machine with the title and name, and kind of, you know, he had his body blown apart a couple times, and, you know, they just straight up made him into like half machine or like cyborg type thing. Maybe, I mean, I would rather have that fleshed out, and, like, you know, I want to see War Machine get his own movie. That's what I'm trying to say, because I'm a huge fan of his character. Falcon, I just want to see him, like I said, paint him white, you know, give him like a white and red outfit, something that they can fit in their movie verse. I'm not saying go full comic book, but paint him white, give him something else to do other than fly around and shoot Uzis. Because I mean, outside of that, I mean, you're shooting 9mm bullets at aliens and stuff who could probably just stand there and take it. So what is Falcon actually doing? I mean, what did he do in that whole ending battle fight scene besides pretend to fight people? You know, at least War Machine was like dropping cluster bombs and he was shooting up everybody, things like that. Falcon was just flying around. Oh yeah, let me fly around and throw Red Wing at people and like shoot Uzis. That does, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do at that point. At least give him something else to make him useful. Like have Black Panther, you know, be like, here, you know, Falcon, take this like badass Wakandan vibranium rifle or something, like a rail rifle or something, and have him fly around sniping people from a distance or something with it. I mean, give him something, like, you know, because he's supposed to, in the comic books, Falcon has bird-like superpowers where he can he has a bird, his bird Red Wing, he can telepathically connect to it. He can see what Red Wing sees. He could sense what the bird can sense, things like that. I mean, hell, I'd even flip it around a little bit better. You know, if you want to make Falcon a tech-based character, I would probably have him be the Avengers like long-range sniper, and have him use Red Wing to see, you know, through, you know, to take the vision from Red Wing's cameras and make it so like he can like see long range and snipe people with it. You know, make that his thing. You know, differentiate him from War Machine, who is also the fly around shoot things guy. Like I said, War Machine could do a whole lot more because he has more guns and more stuff to do during the fight. But Falcon just seemed kind of like he had to be there, but he didn't really do anything. He felt like the Hawkeye of the movie. At least with Hawkeye, they cut him out along with Ant-Man. They're probably going to get more play in the sequel. And I'll talk about that when I do like a speculations type video at the end of all of these review videos. But yeah, Falcon didn't get a whole lot to do. At least Cap had a few good moments in there. They gave him 2 Wakandan shields. I thought that was pretty good. I'd rather see him get his shield back. I mean, I don't know why they just didn't give him one of those Wakandan vibranium African shields. I mean, why did they give him like 2 little gauntlet type things? Like, no, give him like one of those big oval like shields, you know, or hell, I'm surprised Black Panther didn't be like, look, I know he's coming back, let me make him another shield just in case. Paint it all black, put like, you know, some African tribal writing on it or something, and have him toss that around for a little bit, something, right? You also had Winter Soldier in there. He didn't get a whole lot to do either. You know, run around, shoot things on the ground. He didn't have a scene where he kind of did anything really unique. He was also like Falcon, where he just had to be there, you know. They gave him a new arm. I'd rather had to see, or I would wish to see them use that arm a little bit effectively. Let's say like if he had a group of people coming towards him, let's say he could aim the arm at them and make like a shockwave energy blast or something. Give his new arm something to do, something you can make a toy out of, right? And then you could be like, oh, okay, so that's how his new arm is different from the older one. But no, they just gave him an assault rifle and was just like, go to town. He had one scene with Rocket where he spun him around, like kind of reminded me of the Guardians 1 scene when they was in jail, where he picked up where Groot and him were spinning around in a circle. and they had a scene, you know, where he picked them up and spun them around in a circle. And they were shooting each other, and he was like, "Oh, how much for that gun?" He was like, "It's not for sale." He was like, "Oh," he's like, "How much for that arm?" Another callback to the joke in Guardians 1. Thought that was funny as hell. But outside of that, yeah, Team Cap was pretty good. I mean, I didn't agree with a lot of their motivations, but I understood why, you know, they were there. Like I said, I mean, Cap is Cap, so he's gonna, you know, be like the Superman of the group, not trying to kill nobody, things like that. So I thought it was played out very well. I'm curious to see where they're gonna take it into, you know, in Avengers 4, because now that everybody's kind of been wiped off the board, so to speak, I'm curious to see how they do that recollection with Tony. I thought that was gonna happen in this movie. Like, I thought they were gonna have that New York scene, and then Tony was gonna pick up the phone, call him, get Cap's team in there. They were gonna have their own, you know, recollection, and then be like, "Look, here's what we got to do," and then that's when they break up into teams. But they didn't do that in this movie. He never had a conversation with Iron Man, so I'm assuming they're saving that for the next one. I don't know how Tony's gonna get back to Earth, but I'm guessing they're gonna do that eventually with him and Nebula. Maybe they fix her ship, or maybe they do something to you know, to get back to Earth, and then they're probably gonna have that recollection with Captain America. Well, not recollection, but they're gonna talk with Captain America, and they're gonna mend that bridge somewhat, and then they're gonna go forward. And I don't know how they're gonna. I mean, I don't know how Marvel's gonna, you know, unfist the fisting that Thanos gave the MCU, because it's one of those things where Marvel is kind of stuck in a hard, you know, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. And I'll talk about this more in the Thanos video and in the speculations video when I make it. It's they're at the point now where if they just use the Infinity Gauntlet to bring everybody back, it invalidates the deaths that happen in this movie. It makes them cheap, and I'm guessing they don't want to do that because they want this movie to have impact. So I would assume if they're just not going to use the Infinity Gauntlet, and because the Gauntlet was kind of smashed at the end of the movie, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, the Gauntlet doesn't work no more, but then Thanos used it to leave, so I don't buy into that. I think the Gauntlet works just fine. Even in a comic book movie, or not comic movie, even in the comic books, when you use the Infinity Gauntlet, it doesn't break. So, but they did show it was heavily trashed, so maybe in the next movie it's going to be weaker or something like that. So, and I'm going to assume that unless they make up stuff for the movies, because in order to wield the Infinity Gauntlet, you have to be like a strong-willed character. And I don't mean like in the comic books, Iron Man and Captain America has used it, true, but it's one of those things where it's like when they used it, they can only do one thing, and neither one of them kind of fix the universe. You know, it's not, you know, they weren't strong enough to wield it like that. So unless they just magically get get the gauntlet in the second movie and then be like, oh, you know, now Cap can just use it because this is the movie verse, maybe they might do something like that. But I don't think Marvel is just gonna get the gauntlet and just snap their fingers and then just bring everybody back. I don't think that's gonna, I don't think that's what Marvel wants to do. I think the second movie they said is gonna have some time travel stuff in it. I don't know how that's gonna play a factor because they don't have the time stone anymore and Thanos still has the gauntlet, so how are they traveling back through time? Unless Wong is gonna pull a spell out of his ass, or something like that. But I know in Doctor Strange they've always hinted at time travel magic with the time stone. They didn't say like, oh, we also have these other spells that can do it. They never mentioned anything like that, and every time Doctor Strange did it, it was always with the time stone. So that's going to be the weird part. That's the weird part where it's kind of, where my comic book knowledge ends and the movie knowledge ends, because it's like I don't know what they're going to do. They're bringing in Captain Marvel, so she doesn't have time travel powers either. So it's going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, well, how are they going to unfuck this situation, right? But I guess we all got to wait till next year and see what they do. I'm just hoping it's not something that's super cheap, and I'm really hoping they just don't, oh, let's just bring everybody back and yay, everybody's back. I really hope they don't do that. I would rather have them at the end of the day have Iron Man and Cap and what's left fight Thanos or whatever, and then somehow instead of bringing everybody back, let's say they all get destroyed and wiped out, but yet they push everybody who was wiped out, and you know, I'd rather see them push them to like a whole separate universe and have everybody that was wiped out get brought back in another, you know, like timeline where they didn't, where let's say they got killed and they got pushed back into a whole nother timeline where different things happen that has X-Men and the Mutants and the Fantastic Four and all that stuff in it. I'd rather see that happen than having them just snap their fingers and just bring everybody back and they'd be like, okay, everybody's back, then it means nothing, you know, because that would just piss me off. But anyways, guys, that's just been my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War with certain circumstances revolving around Team Cap. Got sidetracked a little bit, but I'm trying to keep these videos around a half hour, so. But in the next video, I'm going to probably do Team Guardians. That's going to probably go up in the next day and a half as soon as I do it. And then after that, we're gonna do Thanos' video, because I really want to talk about him. Then we're probably going to do a video about the Black Order, talking about them. And then we're going to roll into speculations for Avengers 4, what I think they should do, and wrap up any kind of final thoughts that I might have. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm a huge comic book fan, so like I love all of the comments and things like that, so I don't mind talking and exchanging ideas and debates and all that stuff. So if you guys want me to read anything or have anything to say, let me know down in the comments below. And my name is Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.